So Tom Ford fragrance fans, you're in for a treat as they are launching 4 fragrances. And I'm going to tell you all about these 4 rumored fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. Are you a fan of Tom Ford's fragrances? Which are your favorite Tom Ford fragrances? Put a comment down below. There are some private blend fragrances here and some non-private blend fragrances. Although some of them I don't know what's going on with. But there are some exciting releases that are coming out. But probably you've heard about this first one. It's called Eau D'Ombre Leather, which is a third flanker of the very popular Ombre Leather series in the EDP here and in the Parfum here. Can you guess which is my favorite? I've reviewed both, and I prefer one over the other. And if you've been following, you probably know. I prefer the EDP over the Parfum. Both fragrances created by Sonia Constant over at Givaudan. And it seems like Tom Ford works with a lot of Givaudan perfumers. If you guys haven't noticed that, you should look up the fragrances over at the databases. So Eau D'Ombre Leather, I have a little scoop on it. It's a leather fragrance, and apparently with the success of their vanilla fragrances, the Vanilla Sex and also Vanille Fatale, the updated version, they've added vanilla to a leather fragrance. What do you guys think about that? This is the scoop I've heard. Again, these are rumored fragrances. And I think out of the ones I'm going to discuss today, only this fragrance, Eau D'Ombre Leather, has really been publicized. The 3 additional ones I'll get to. But are you a fan of Ombre Leather series? Which do you prefer? The EDP, which was launched first. This is the EDP. It's got some leaks here. Right there. And then the Parfum, let me show you, has that white label. There's some leakage here. So these 2 launched, I think the Parfum launched about 3 years ago, and the original in EDP was launched first as a private blend for 1 year, I believe in 2017, and then it came out as a signature collection a year later after that. Let me know if you're a fan of this series. It's a leather fragrance, but in a Tom Ford style. I feel like if you have Ombre Leather, you might not need Tuscan Leather. To me, I get similarities and also differences, but the original in EDP has notes of cardamom, jasmine, sambac, black leather, patchouli, white moss, and amber. So it's spicy, it's earthy, it's woody, of course leathery. It's quite sexy. I enjoyed this leather fragrance. It's definitely a winner. Very solid designer leather fragrance that's been copied multiple times. In fact, I think the original Tuscan Leather had come out sometime in the mid-2000s. This came out around 10 years later from the Tom Ford house, and I think it's the original Tuscan Leather. And I'm not saying this is a clone, but I feel like it has similarities. But I feel like Tuscan Leather is that fragrance that's been duped, copied, multiplied, inspired from over and over again. Because you'll notice if you haven't already, there are a ton of leather fragrances that are very inspired from Tuscan Leather, including this one. But between the Parfum and the EDP, I do prefer the EDP because there's something about the Parfum. I feel like it's got the violet leaves a lot, so it kind of freshens up the fragrance too much. Even though it's a Parfum, the ozonic violet leaves adds this freshness to the fragrance that I feel like takes away from the fragrance. And you might like the Parfum over the EDP. Do let me know which you prefer, the EDP or the Parfum. Put a comment down below. But the Parfum is black leather, violet leaves, cedarwood, iris, green tobacco, jasmine, sambac. I don't know. I prefer the original. I'm happy with the original, and usually it's not the way for me. It's the other way around. I much prefer the Parfum concentration fragrances. But in this case with Ombre Leather, I much prefer the original. On the channel, there's a video on all the Parfum fragrances that were launched up to that point. They were all on signature line. Now they're doing parfums of their private blend collection. In fact, we have Oud Wood Parfum now, and we have Neroli Portofino Parfum, and I'm going to talk to you about a third parfum from the private blend collection. There's already many parfums in the signature line, including Ombre Leather, Noir Extreme Parfum, Grey Vetiver Parfum, Black Orchid Parfum. Those are the parfums there are from the signature line, but as I said, we have Oud Wood Parfum now from the private blend, and we also have the Neroli Portofino Parfum. Do you guys get much difference between Neroli Portofino Parfum versus Neroli Portofino Forte? I've been told that it's just basically the Forte just turned into the name Parfum, but maybe there are differences. I think I noticed some differences. It's not quite identical. In the end, the idea is kind of the same, but it's not quite a new fragrance, and it's also, not identical. So it's kind of both for me. So the other parfum they're launching soon, and I don't know the date for this. It's next year. I'm not 100% sure, but they are launching a parfum version of another popular Tom Ford fragrance. This is Soleil Neige, this one right here. This is 4 or 5 Soleil fragrances, and Soleil Neige seems to be the most popular in the collection. It's very much loved by a lot of people. Let me know if you're a fan of Soleil Neige. It's, I believe, created by Olivier Guillotine, who is also part of Givaudan. They do use Givaudan perfumers quite a bit over at Tom Ford. And Soleil Neige features notes of white flowers, orange blossom, benzoin, bergamot, vanilla, jasmine, labdanum, rose, and carrot seeds. It's a really, really delicious fragrance. It's taking their kind of beachy fragrance and turning it into a bit fresher and more floral. You still have that kind of solar effect happening here, but it's fresher, and then it settles to warmth. It's a benzoin note in the base when it dries down, so it does warm up, but there's so much freshness here. It's a nice contrast of fresh notes along with the warmth of the benzoin, which to me is a resinous vanillic type note. And then there's, of course, vanilla in there as well. So it's kind of solar, beachy, tropical, but done in a fresh way that makes it for an easier wear. Let me know if you're a fan of Soleil Neige. And what do you guys think about the fact that they are creating a parfum version of Soleil Neige? Are they having success? From what I heard here, the 2 vanilla fragrances that launched late last year, the Vanille Fatale, it was a redo of Vanille Fatale, and then of course Vanilla Sex. Both of them have been extremely successful. I did not buy Vanille Fatale because I have the old version still from when I bought it back in around 2018. But I did buy Vanilla Sex, and I do enjoy Vanilla Sex quite a bit. But I've heard so many negative things about Tom Ford's Vanilla Sex. It's almost becoming as polarizing as Noir Anthracite. I had such dramatic comments about Noir Anthracite. I would get like cat piss, a dead cat, and just all kinds of weird comments like that. And for Vanilla Sex, I'm getting a lot of puke. Like people say it smells like puke. To me, it smells like almond nougat with lots of vanilla. It's quite delicious. But I know people are not the biggest fans of it. I think the price point is also quite high for that. And so a lot of people dismissed it perhaps. But according to my contact with associates at department stores, both of those fragrances have been very successful for Tom Ford, which is good for them, I suppose. But they are quite pricey, unfortunately. Tom Ford fragrances, all designer fragrances are quite pricey. But let me know your thoughts on Soleil Neige Parfum. I don't really know when exactly it's coming out, but I'm looking forward to see what they do with it. They already have... No, they're not parfums, though. In this collection, there are already some stronger fragrances, but I feel like making this particular fragrance stronger is going to be quite interesting and definitely something I want to get my nose on, because I do enjoy Soleil Neige quite a bit. It's a late discovery for me, although I reviewed it from a sample like years ago when it first launched around 2019, and I've always wanted to get a bottle, and I found this bottle for quite low somewhere along the way, the 250 ml, so I had to snatch it up before they sold out. But A really great fragrance, I think, and I'm definitely looking forward to the Soleil Neige Parfum. So something that's going to come out earlier than Soleil Neige Parfum is Black Lacquer. Now, I already mentioned Black Lacquer in a video like a year and a half ago, or maybe a year ago, for another video like this theme of rumored fragrances. So it's finally making its appearance, and I believe it's coming out in September. So I think Soleil Neige comes out after Black Lacquer, but it was kind of a segue for me to mention the Soleil Neige Parfum, because I was speaking about the parfums like Tom Ford's Oud Wood Parfum and Neroli Portofino Parfum. But Black Lacquer apparently comes out in September. And again, as I said, I have mentioned it in videos here and there, and it is finally happening. And according to rumors and what I've heard, it's supposed to be like a lot of other dark Tom Ford fragrances. So Tom Ford fragrances, when I first got into this, late 80s, what am I saying? Late 2000s, early 2010s, were very super sexy. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I just don't know if it's going into, most likely it's a private blend collection fragrance. I'm not 100% sure, but most likely it is. And from what I've heard, it supposedly has F Fabulous vibes. Now that does not sound good, because I'm not the biggest fan of F Fabulous. I'm not saying that word because YouTube keeps, penalizing me for using that F word. But I'm not a fan of that fragrance too much. I liked it, but it was not like a wow fragrance. I hope it's not very similar to Fabulous, and I hope it's more in line with some of the older noir fragrances like Japon Noir, Noir de Noir, Tom Ford Noir for Men, the original, the musky one, and things like that that are super sexy rather than the new stuff. If anybody's gotten their nose on any of these upcoming releases, do let me know. Put a comment down below. But I'd like to find out if you've already sampled anything, or if anything is worth checking into. I mean, I'm going to check these out anyway. I have my own sales associates over at the department stores I can go, check. But sometimes the West Coast stores receive things really slow compared to, East Coast stores, or even Europe sometimes. But very excited for Eau d'Ombre Leather, very excited for Black Lacquer, very excited about Soleil Neige Parfum. Now, the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about, I believe the name is wrong. So I received messages from various people here and there, and they tell me these are rumored fragrances, blah, blah, blah. And I also speak a lot with sales associates at various department stores that deal with Tom Ford fragrances. So I kind of try and figure out what's going on. So I was told that there's a fragrance called BOIS Pacifique coming sometime in the future. BOIS Pacifique, meaning something like a woody aquatic fragrance or woody marine fragrance. But according to my research, I believe it's not called BOIS Pacifique, but there is something citrusy, watery, woody fragrance that is supposed to launch sometime in the future. Again, I don't know if it's going inside the private blend collection or if it's a signature line. Most likely it's private blend, and I feel like Tom Ford's going to continue moving fragrances from private blend into signature. I think they're going to continue doing that because they're not launching anything new into signature too much, except for flankers of existing fragrances, and then they're moving fragrances into the signature line. Like Cafe Rose, they moved it into the signature line. But it's interesting how they did with Cafe Rose. It was a unisex offering. They made it more feminine in the signature line. And then with the Oud Mineral, I didn't care for the new Oud, I didn't care for the first Oud Mineral, but later the original grew on me. But apparently there was something carcinogenic in that fragrance, so it's been reformulated and brought back in the new bottle. So I feel like the new one leans more masculine compared to the original. But did you guys like Oud Mineral, the new one in the signature line? Let me know, put a comment down below. So I feel like that's what Tom Ford is doing, moving older, maybe less popular fragrances from the private blend into the signature line. But I haven't seen a brand new release in the signature line, except, as I said, for flankers. So I think there's room for more private blend to be moved in, and hopefully maybe they'll bring back something. Like I know a lot of you have been asking for Plum Japonais. Will they ever bring that back? I'm hoping they would, because I think that's the fragrance most people want back from the consensus, from what people put comments down and things like that, is Plum Japonais. But will they bring it in the signature line if they brought it back, or will they bring it back as a reformulated fragrance for the private blend collection? And I'm not saying they're bringing it back. Maybe they will. Who knows? Because I think it's pretty in demand, that particular fragrance. Of all the fragrances people ask for from Tom Ford, it's Plum Japonais, which is quite strange. So hopefully they'll bring it. And then another rumor that was going around was for Tobacco Oud. And Tobacco Oud I don't think will ever come back in the signature line. I think it's too daring of a fragrance. I love it. It's one of my favorites. It is still selling in Europe, and I think it's at the discounters as well. So if you're looking for it, look at the discounters and find it. But it's a pretty daring fragrance, and I don't think that'll ever go into the signature line. This was a rumor at one time. People were saying, "Oh, we've heard that Tobacco Oud is going into the signature line." But according to my contact with associates for Estee Lauder and Tom Ford, they mentioned no. Anyway, these are the 4 fragrances I wanted to report on. Let me know which one sounds the best to you. Which one are you most excited about? Put a comment down below. Again, Eau d'Ombre Leather is launching sooner. Black Lacquer, from what I hear, is launching around September. Soleil Neige Parfum, I don't exactly know when that's launching. Probably by the end of the year. And then BOIS Pacifique. Remember, it's not called BOIS Pacifique. It's a different name. This was the name I was sent. I get messages, as I said, and people tell me these are launching, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm curious what it's going to be called. But the idea is still similar to the name, BOIS Pacifique. Apparently, these names sometimes are work in progress, or like, when you shoot a film and you have a fake title for it, that's kind of, they give it a title. So this is going to have a different name. But I kind of like BOIS Pacifique. What do you guys think? I'm in the Pacific, so there's a lot of woody trees out there. But either way, let's see what happens, and let me know which ones you're most excited about. I'm definitely interested in smelling every single one of them. I'm not sure if I'll enjoy every single one of them, but I'm curious. The one I'm most excited about is Black Lacquer, but I'm not excited about the F-Fabulous vibes of that one. So everyone sounds great to me. I'd like to get my nose on it. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.